Student Loan Forgiveness Program. $10,000 in debt relief explained.
What is the plan and how does it work? After years of battle and building pressure, victory is finally in sight for the taxpayers. President Biden might finally complete the campaign promise he made when he ran for president. The Biden administration has decided to cancel $10,000 of federal student debt for most borrowers and $20,000 for recipients of Pell Grants via an executive order. This move will benefit millions of Americans. An executive order is a power given to the president to pass any law at his discretion as long as it is not against the Constitution. There is no voting needed. The president can pass any order he wants which is under his power, however, this order can be challenged in court. Remember this information as it will come in handy later in this video. The benefit can only be applied to Americans earning up to $125,000 per year individually or $250,000 in a married couple filing jointly. Over 45% of the people, more than 23 million Americans, will have their debt completely wiped out, and they can finally start their lives afresh. The Pell Grant is provided to citizens that require exceptional financial aid due to dire circumstances. These borrowers are usually the ones who need this cancellation the most. The cancellation will be a life changer for millions. Americans can finally put their debt in the rearview mirror and invest in assets. Various experts estimate different costs for this program. Most researchers are expecting that it will cost anywhere between $240 billion and $320 billion. The Pell Grant cancellation will add another $120 billion. The loan pause, also known as the moratorium, has also been extended till December 2022 for the final time. These moves are unprecedented and they are also expensive. But are they good? That's for you to decide. But why now? Biden has already canceled $31 billion worth of student loans previously. This was only for a limited set of people, like disabled people and students who were defrauded. The current cancellation is much wider. 95% of all borrowers will be covered under this order. The cancellation is a welcome step. For years, multi-billion-dollar corporations are getting bailed out for defaults. This move helps even the ground. But why now? The official reason is that Americans shouldn't have to choose between keeping a roof over their head and paying back student loans. But this was true last year as well, and all the years before that. The action comes after President Biden's approval ratings tumbled to an all-time low. Shortly after getting mocked out of Saudi Arabia, Biden's admin executed the plan to kill Zawahiri of Al-Qaeda to get some brownie points. The move to cancel student debt might be just another plan to win the approval of the public, just 60 days before the midterm elections. The Democratic Party itself admitted to this. The Democrats were on their way to losing control of the House in November, but since announcing this move, Biden's ratings have shot up 9% from a low of 38%. Would this be enough to have control of the House? Time will tell. A smart piece of advice is not to spend your money on celebrations just yet in the hope that your debt is getting canceled. Do not count your chickens before they hatch. Does the president have the power to do it? Executive orders allow the president to make laws based on his whim, but this power is not unlimited. It is regulated. It is only allowed to be used under limited scenarios. President Biden himself believed that student loans could not be canceled through an executive order. This changed when he was presented with a detailed memorandum by a Secretary of Education. The topic of this memo was whether the president should exercise his executive powers to cancel the student loan debt. The public does not know the contents of this memorandum yet. The Republicans have already announced that they will be challenging that the president cannot pass an executive order to cancel student loan debt. The process has to be followed to the letter. A bill has to be presented before Congress, and there will be discussions which need to be followed by a voting. We do not know what the court might rule. The court does not know what it might rule. It will come down to the arguments of the lawyers and the political alignment of the judges. Why $10,000 specifically? Is it enough? Members of Biden's own party, the Democrats, have urged the president to cancel a higher amount, and that $10,000 is not enough. Others have said that it's too much. There's bound to be some disagreement between people. $10,000 is an arbitrary number after all. It was probably arrived at by taking into notice the half of loans that were under $10K. President Biden decided to cancel them and quickly win the confidence of Americans. The decisions are currently in progress. The party is internally considering raising the limit to $50,000 instead. This will increase the cost of the cancellation to $1 trillion, so don't count on it. Printing $1 trillion worth of money will cause severe inflation. At least it has to be done gradually and over multiple years. The oppositions. The whole point of the opposite party is to keep the ruling party in check. The Republicans have expressed multiple concerns. Most of them lack substance, but two of them can stop the order. Number 1. Canceling debt will be unfair to people who have already paid their debts. Imagine if you worked 10 years, saved as much money as you could, lived frugally, and finally paid off your debt. A week later, the government forgives the debt of your broke friends who lacked discipline and spent lavishly instead of saving or paying off debt. Forgiving debt sends a bad message to people who worked hard to pay off their debt. The government is rewarding poor decision-making. The second concern raised is that this move will favor the more fortunate people. Impoverished Americans who require aid the most will be left behind. How does it happen? This argument is quite interesting. Less than 30% of Americans have gone to college. Only half of them have student loan debt currently. That means around 15% of Americans. These people are usually the ones who knew they could afford college, either directly or through debt. Imagine a destitute person who might have wanted to attend college, but chose not to attend college because he was afraid of taking on too much debt. His friends took loans to attend college, and a couple of years later, the debts to his friends are forgiven. Why should we only help people who attended college and leave out people who could not attend college due to personal or financial reasons? This is counterproductive. The Republicans argue that it would be unfair to just cancel the debt. There have to be better ways that favor everyone, regardless of whether they went to college or not. If people had have known that forgiving the debt was an option, this would have changed their decision-making significantly. As per the study by U.S. Penn Wharton, the cancellation will benefit less fortunate households more, especially the POC household. It is also expected to reduce the racial wealth gap. But as per other studies, it is clear that richer people will benefit more because they are more likely to attend college. You may or may not agree with these depending on your personal biases and opinions, but the American Constitution is clear. Laws should not favor a particular creed or community. Laws can be made to promote lower income groups, but not higher income groups. People who went to college for further studies are generally higher income groups. There is bound to be litigation questioning if the cancellation is unfavorable towards people who could not attend college. Both of the concerns expressed by Republicans are not against the cancellation of student loan debt. Both of these concerns are just trying to seek equality for people who will be wronged if only limited citizens were benefited. That's how laws are made. It's good to have decisions and arguments about the ratio of the law, its effects, and its fairness towards all groups of people. What will be its financial impact? If you've watched our other videos, you know what inflation is. Inflation means a rise in the overall level of prices. It happens when everyone has money to spend and the resources are limited. This starts a bidding war between people. People who need stuff more are ready to pay a higher price for them. Everyone has more money. Too many people will try to buy a house with money. When this happens, the price of houses go up, like in a bidding war. If we draw that analogy here, due to this loan cancellation, everyone is going to be left with money. People will think it's free money and will spend it. Some will spend it on booze, some will spend it on crypto, some will buy a house, and some people will decide to have another kid. Everything will get more expensive. Even the colleges will raise their tuition fees because, quote, the degrees are free apparently. Inflation is the basic law of economics that cannot be avoided. The feds know this too. It's an obvious phenomenon. We don't know what or how, but they will be taking suitable measures to make sure the impact of inflation is not too great. Inflation is not bad. We know that. When people come into money unexpectedly, they treat themselves a little. They will go out and shop. It will stimulate the local economy. It's good for the economy of the nation. That's probably what the Biden administration is thinking too. They know that if they print money right now and use it to cancel the debt, people will go ahead and spend more money. Businesses will profit and pay more taxes. This will generate enough taxes to repay the amount of money they printed above. All is good. The decision comes at an important time because America's GDP is shrinking. It is on the verge of a recession, as we've discussed in our previous videos. Earlier this week, the GDP growth report came out, and it's clear that the USA's GDP shrank this year as well. America is not growing. It stopped growing years ago. The American GDP continues to grow because it continues to absorb more and more people from other countries. More mouths to feed means more money for businesses. There was a little dip in taking expats over the last 3 years, and that reflects on our GDP growth rate. Stimulating the economy artificially by literally giving everyone free money is a good practice to counter recession. It's followed across the globe. Now, what about the taxes, you ask? Now, usually, when your debt gets forgiven, it's considered an income. And of course, you need to pay taxes on this income. Except in this case. When you get a $10,000 loan cancellation, it's almost like someone paid your debt on your behalf. This amount is your income. Fortunately, in May 2021, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan passed by Congress. As per the act, loan forgiveness between January 1st, 2021 and the 31st of December 2025 will be tax-free. So this particular cancellation will have no federal tax liability. Mind the word federal. Your states will apply the taxes according to their policy. A loan forgiven is still an income liable to tax. Most states will simply follow the federal tax rules, and because of this, there will not be any tax liability. If you belong to any of the 9 states that don't have a state income tax, you won't have to pay any taxes. These states are Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. It is expected from the analysis of nonprofits that 13 states, Arkansas, Hawaii, Idaho, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wisconsin might levy state income taxes on canceled student debt. So start saving for a tax bill till more clarity is offered by the states. What do you think about President Biden's student loan debt relief program? Let us know in the comments below. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching us here on Tom's Do-It-Yourself Investing channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share the knowledge with those who might find it useful. I will be back with more videos. Until then, take care and stay tuned.